with his headset on was the person who actually called that play. Now, if this is true, this is terrible. This is just ridiculous. What is Pittsburgh thinking? You've got a Super Bowl winning fantastic head coach in Mike Tomlin. You've got an offensive coordinator that, like the guy or not, his success and production results speak for themselves in Todd Haley. And you're going to let your injured quarterback call the play that will win or lose you the game, and he calls the most ridiculous, stupid play that you can call there outside of actually having Le'Veon Bell pass the ball instead of run it, which actually might have been less stupid if Le'Veon can actually throw the ball decent, because everybody would have bit on the run and receiving option would have been wide open. But so if that is true, that's just, boy, that's a recipe for disaster, and stupid decision-making processes like that will come back to bite the Steelers in the butts at some point in time. However, if Big Ben can somehow come back here in Week 6, which it is rumored that he really wants to do and is committed to do, but less likely that it will actually happen. He can throw just fine, but he can't. They're concerned, I should say, about his ability to move laterally in the pocket and avoid the rush and stay upright for 4 quarters. So doubtful that he will play, but possible that he will play this week. They can't get him back soon enough. As soon as Big Ben comes back, they are a wild card contending team. But without Big Ben, they are, without question, not a playoff team. But like I said, they have found a way to beat the freaking Chargers, the dang Chargers. It just every week of every year, they're a completely different team. You have no idea if you're going to get the team that scores, 45 points, or the team that can't hold on to a lead, or whatever. One side note for the San Diego Chargers: it was tight end Antonio Gates' triumphant return. He was suspended the first 4 games of the year for PED violation, and he had just under 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, blew up fantasy football tight ends. His replacement, Darius Green, who had been playing very good all throughout the year as well, is still seeing a good amount of field time and targets as well. At least he did last week. We'll see if that continues, but looks to be good to go for Antonio Gates moving forward. All right, so that was all of last week's results in the NFL. Let us get to, first off, okay, let's do this, give you the standings quick, and my new exclusive, hopefully weekly NFL Power Rankings, not the official NFL Power Rankings, but my, as I see them, NFL Power Rankings. But like I said, first a rundown of the standings. So in the AFC East, we've got the undefeated Patriots at 4-0, then the surprising New York Jets at 3-1, the Buffalo Bills at 3-2, and the lowly Dolphins, my wild card pick, the lone team with a losing record in that division at 1-3. They will be playing their first game under new interim coach Dan Campbell this week. Should be interesting to see how that goes. As a result, be very leery of playing any Miami Dolphins on your fantasy football teams this week. Then the AFC North, we have 5-0 undefeated Cincinnati Bengals on top, followed by the barely 3-2 Pittsburgh Steelers, the 2-3 Cleveland Browns, and we are 2-3 in the AFC North. Yeah, whatever, something like that. And then Baltimore Ravens, not everybody's, but a huge, vast majority of people's sexy Super Bowl pick going into the season is in last place at 1-4. Out in the AFC West, you've got the undefeated Broncos at 5-0, very unimpressive in their 5 wins and no losses. They're followed by the 2-3 Chargers, the 2-3 Raiders, and the 1-4 Chiefs in last place, coming to Minnesota on Sunday to hopefully become the 1-5 Kansas City Chiefs. And then in the AFC South, you've got the starting out 0-2, now 3-2 Indianapolis Colts in first place, followed by arguably the three worst teams in all of football, the Tennessee Titans at 1-3, and the Texans and Jaguars both at 1-4. Moving to the NFC, we've got the two undefeated teams in the NFC South. The Falcons, technically in first place at 5-0, and the Panthers, coming off of their bye, at 4-0. Then we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2-3, and in last place, the lowly New Orleans Saints at 1-4. Moving on to the NFC North, my division, we got the stupid Green Bay Cheesehead Packers at 5-0 undefeated, followed by the 2-2 Minnesota Vikings, who, by the way, if the playoffs started today, the Minnesota Vikings would be the 6th seed in the NFC playoffs. Just remember that, okay? They're 2-2 in second place in the North, followed by the resurgent, smoking hot Chicago Bears at 2-3, and the NFL's only undefeated team, the NFL's only winless team, the Detroit Lions, in last place at 0-5. Then in the NFC East, we've got the 3-2 New York Giants, who could be a real tough, scary for real team this year. I'm telling you, under everybody's radar, they could very easily be 5-0. Don't be surprised, okay? Then we've got a three-way tie for second/last place. We've got the 2-3 Cowboys, who things just keep looking like they're getting worse for. We've got the 2-3 Redskins, who are limited but capable on a week-to-week basis. And then you've got the Eagles, who are just so horribly inconsistent, all at 2-3. Finally, out in the NFC West, we've got the 4-1 Arizona Cardinals on top, followed by the St. Louis Rams at 2-3 and the Seahawks at 2-3. And in last place, the San Francisco 49ers at 1-4. Gosh, that one team that they beat must really stink. Oh, that was the Vikings, right? Never mind. Okay, so that's your NFL standings. Now let me give you my personal current Week 6 NFL Power Rankings. This is how I see it, okay? So your top 10 are as follows. The number 1 power ranking Scotty Ball team is the New England Patriots. At number 2 would be the Green Bay Packers. At 3 is the Cincinnati Bengals. That's right, the Cincinnati Bengals are ranked number 3 on my personal power rankings list. At 4 would be the Atlanta Falcons, and at 5, not one of the other undefeateds, but rather the 4-1 Arizona Cardinals. Then at 6 on the power rankings, I have the undefeated Denver Broncos, followed by a big surprise probably to most people, the 3-2 Giants, followed by the undefeated 4-0 Carolina Panthers at number 9, and the 3-2 Indianapolis Colts at number 10. Oh no, wait, at number 9. Carolina was 8. Indy's 9. That's right. And at number 10, we will do the 2-2 Minnesota Vikings. So, then our bottom feeders on the power rankings in dead last would be the Detroit Lions. At 31 would be the 49ers. At 30 would be Tennessee. And then if you want the final 5 worst would probably be Houston, Jaguars, and then debatable whether, where you go from there. If you got the Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens, Saints, Bucks, they're all fairly crummy. Alright, so there is your exclusive balls deep NFL Power Rankings for Week 6, and let us get to our pick'ems for the upcoming week's NFL games. Alright. So, we start with the Thursday night game. It is the Atlanta Falcons on the road against division rival New Orleans Saints. Could be a very good division game. They're setting them all up on paper to be good games for the Thursday night football games, because so many people complained last year and the year before that these games are lousy matchups and unentertaining. Get rid of Thursday night football altogether, people were yelling. I'm like, slow your roll, holy cow. But this could be an ugly barn burner too. Julio Jones is banged up for Atlanta. That would be your one thing that's giving the Saints maybe a chance, other than being at home and being fairly healthy now for one of the first times in a while. However, it didn't seem to do him much good last week. The Saints are a 3.5 point favorite, a 3.5 point underdog at home. I am picking both the Atlanta Falcons to win that game and to do it by more than 3.5 points. All right, so that's what we got coming up on Thursday night. That'd be tomorrow night. Then, coming up on Sunday, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Buffalo Bills. That should be a fantastic game. Another wonderful proving ground statement opportunity game for the Cincinnati Bengals on the road against a great defensive Buffalo Bills team and an all-around pretty good offensive Buffalo Bills team as well when T-Mobile Tyrod Taylor is at quarterback. It sounds as though he is very doubtful. Like I said, they're hopeful, but it is doubtful that he will play in that game. If he does not play in that game, E.J. Manuel will be the starting quarterback, who I've always been a bigger fan of and supporter of in the NFL than most people. But I think the question marks around the Bills this week results in a Bengals win. Bills are a 2.5 point underdog. I will pick the Bengals to both, again, win that game and do it by more than 2.5 points. However, for the record, if quarterback Tyrod Taylor was coming into this game 100% healthy, I would be picking the Bills to win this game at home. But that's not the case, so Bengals remain undefeated coming up this week, moving to 6-0. Then we've got the bottom feeders in the NFC North, the Chicago Bears, on the road taking on the Detroit Lions. And for some insane reason, the 0-5 Detroit Lions are a 2.5 point favorite. That's right, a 2.5 point favorite to beat the 2-3 Chicago Bears. Bears are going to win that game, so of course the spread is going to be covered as well. That's a pretty easy pick 'em. All right, moving on, we've got the Denver Broncos on the road against the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are a 4.5 point underdog. Man, as much as I rip Josh McCown, he's been lighting it up last couple weeks, which is crazy to say. Yes, the apocalypse must be nigh. The Broncos are undefeated. So let's go with the Broncos to win that game. But let's say they do it by less than 4.5 points. So we're picking the Cleveland Browns to cover the 4.5 point spread. However, they will ultimately lose to the Denver Broncos by 4 points or less. Then we've got the Miami Dolphins on the road, a 2.5 point underdog against the terrible Tennessee Titans. How's that for alliteration? Now, everything on paper says the Miami Dolphins should win this game easily. However, they are a mess, an absolute mess. They just fired their head coach going into the bye, and this is their first game under the new interim coach, who isn't like an OC or anything like that. He's like a tight ends coach. Like, he knows nothing about X's and O's and things like that. At least not that we know of. Maybe he does, but we have yet to find that out. And so coaching is such a huge part of the NFL. I do not take it for granted at all. Most people do. So I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans to actually win in a likely blowout at home, covering the 2.5 point spread and beating the Miami Dolphins. Then we've got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are a 3.5 point favorite to win that game. I think they're going to win by 4 points. It's going to be closer than it should be. The Chiefs are going to have way more success running the ball without Jamal Charles against us than they should, and also more than they will against their upcoming future opponents. But they will run the ball well against us because we traded away Gerald Hodges like a bunch of idiots. But like I said, I'm picking the Vikings to win by 4 points, so they just barely cover the spread, in addition to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Next, we've got the Washington Redskins at the New York Jets. Jets are a 5.5 point favorite to win this game. Jets have been playing